Hello everyone, welcome to Dark Fae Tarot. You are joining me on a very warm late summer's day in Brussels. Welcome to new subscribers, welcome back to those who already know me. So I am here doing a Mabon spread. This spread was inspired after watching a video from Carrie over at Carrie's Mystical Musings. She did a video using the Citadel Oracle and laying out the cards in terms of the elements. So that got my creativity flowing, and I got pen and paper and I came up with this spread, and I kind of like altered it, and basically I came up with something which I thought would be interesting for Mabon, Mabon, however you want to place it. And so I'm going to go through that with you. Now, of course, these, by the way, these cards here are just to help us get into the mood. We are going towards Mabon in the Northern Hemisphere, so that's a period of rest. But also we have an abundance of foods and all of this lovely, wealthy, nutritious stuff from the land coming through. And of course, here I have Ceres, our goddess of harvest, from Lammas. So I've just put out a few cards here. I always like to have something like that in front of me before I begin. I also like putting these things out, when we're at the altar space or even on my bookshelf. If you're in the southern hemisphere, of course, you're going towards Ostara, which is your spring. And again, you might want to use some cards just as your prompts, just to get you in the mood. But that's why I began with these. So going on from here, what I'm going to do now is show you some cards that we're going to lay out from the beginning of the spread. And we're going to lay them out facing upwards because we know exactly what we need to see in terms of the flow. Now, Mabon is the beginning of the autumn equinox. It is the autumn equinox, sorry, and it's the beginning of the Libra season. Then after that, we go in, at the end of October, we go into Scorpio, and then finally we go to Sagittarius, and then we hit Capricorn at Yule. Now, I am not using the zodiac cards here because I would like to use the elemental cards because that is the flow of energy that we're looking at, but you can interchange them if you'd like to. But I personally find it less confusing if I stick to the elemental cards here. So if you have any elemental cards from an oracle deck, this is the time to get them out. So here I'm going to lay them out accordingly, and you'll see again, here is our air sign for Libra. So that's what we begin. We begin with an airy period. Then we're going to use here fire. Sorry, here we have water, which is Scorpio. Here is our fire energy, the cardinal, it's mutable Sagittarius. And of course, finally here we have our earth energy, Capricorn. So here is going to be the end. And the reason why I've mapped this out is because this is a spread that's been devised to be used at the autumn equinox. And then I would suggest doing something again similar to this, which I can do again for us. I can do another video when we come finally to Yule, because these are markers for the months ahead. So we are using this really as a time period to see a flow of energy and what will be affecting us. And again, then, so once you have your markers down, that's when you need to get yourself a tarot deck. And what this gives us is an idea of flows of energy, which I'm going to go through once I start laying out the cards. You'll just need a simple tarot deck, whatever feels right for you. I'm going to use here the Triple Goddess Tarot, which is an RWS clone, basically. I just want to keep it simple because I think it's really helpful when trying to understand what we're trying to accomplish here through this spread, which is what is the flow of energy from Mabon to Yule period. And so the very first card here, we're going to first look at, how we read this, by the way, you might be asking, am I looking down or am I looking across? You're going to be reading this across. So all the airs are going to be going across, all the waters here, all the fires here. It's a little bit difficult because, of course, I don't have that much space and we're trying. But you get the idea that we are first laying them out across, not down. So what is the first card I have here going across from the September to October period? And I have here the Nine of Wands. So we're looking at building perhaps resilience, building defense against something, standing up for ourselves, standing up for something that we've worked hard towards. That's what she's doing, creating a place of protection. Then I have here for myself I have the Eight of Swords. So there here is perhaps this idea that I'm trapped or I can't go forward. Very apt here for the harvest season. So perhaps I feel lost and scared and unable to move, but you know, I am doing okay. So again, we're just reading across, and this is going from September, end of September till the end of October. And the last card I'm drawing out here is the Ace of Wands. So when I get to really the end of this period, I'm going to be seeing some new beginnings when it comes to creativity. So we're going to do the same exercise here again, but this time I'm going to be doing it with the water energy. So again, for Scorpio, for that season, starting from the end of October, around the 23rd of October, until about the 20th of November, which is when Sagittarius comes in. What do I have here? So I have here the Two of Cups. Let me make sure we can see the air. I have here the Two of Cups. Okay, so I've got something very watery here, actually, starting off with the Two of Cups. Then after that, what I would have if I was reading this for myself is I have the Seven of Cups. Wow. So we're going towards air energy, and already we have all of these, water energy. We have all of these cups coming forward. And then finally, what do I have here to go towards Sagittarius season? And I have here the Moon. Wow. Okay. Sorry. Show that a little bit. But we have the Moon here. So that tells me a lot here in terms of, again, watery energy, right? The Moon is governed by Pisces. So we're again looking at this very much this energy of starting off with meeting of minds, and there is clarity here. But as we go through the period, I'm seeing decisions need to be made, choices need to be made. Not all of it is as good as I think it is, and I might be going into a space of illusion. And then finally, for Sagittarius, so there's the Oracle card for Sagittarius that's now a little bit covered up. What am I moving towards in the period from Sagittarius? So literally towards like that period of Christmas when we're getting ready for the Yule season. And wow, I have Death. So that's the very first card here that's drawn out, transformation, which actually makes so much sense, right? Because I've just gone through Samhain. I'm just going through that period where I'm letting go of things and releasing things. I also have the Moon here, which, you know, and the full moon. The full moon is all about release. So right after the full moon here, I have this. Now, I haven't laid out here all the moon dates. That's something to check later, but it gives you already an idea that there is some very strong energy here going on with water and letting go, and that Scorpio transformation energy. After that, I have the Star card. Wow, these are really speaking interestingly, right? So let me make sure we can read that properly here. We have the Star card. Maybe I can just move this a little, keep it in shot, but just move it up a little bit. And here we have, the Star card. So we're really looking at hope coming through, a clearing of energy, just being able to have that rebirth, right? And then the last card for this, I'm just taking from underneath. Oh, I have here the Devil. Wow, I have here the Devil. And that makes it really interesting. I'll tell you why, because traditionally, of course, in Yule, that's when we're going into Capricorn. Capricorn is governed by the Devil. So it's almost like they are really synchronizing here that this is a time to also look at any kind of addiction, any kind of getting caught up in repetitive behavior. Perhaps because we're at Yule, I have become very much obsessed with doing something and I'm not taking that time out for myself or just relaxing a little bit. So so now that we have laid this out, you can really see here that a story is starting to form. And you can do this for yourself, you can do this for other people if you're reading, but this gives you really a quarter year marker reading. And the reason we've laid it out like this, it looks a bit strange, but the way we've done it, maybe just that I can read that fire well. I'm going to do this a little bit. Let's see if this works. Kind of, it doesn't quite. I'm trying to make sure I get this, yes. So maybe now that we've laid this out, we start to get an idea of what are how are the cards showing. Now, so far I laid them out going from left to right. But the other way, of course, we're now going to start looking at them is going downwards. What is the flow of energy from top to bottom. You can see the bottom cards as almost a foundational element, and you can see the top cards as influences, and the middle as being more of the meat of the story. So in the next 3 to 4 month period, what I'm looking at is a period where my foundational cards here, when we have death, we have star, and we have the devil, really about looking at obsessive behaviors, letting go, being a bit honest with myself and having hope, allowing the waters to replenish me, wash over. And really that's part of the foundation of this story. Influencing at the top here is me looking at allowing new ideas to come through, cutting myself free from any kind of victimhood. Perhaps I'm retelling myself a story over and over again. And perhaps that matches up a little bit with my defensiveness as well. You know, here I'm building a defense, but really is that necessary? Is it because I'm scared, I'm guarded because of what's happened in the past? And I keep thinking, oh, I've got to be careful. But perhaps this whole spread here is telling me that the period I'm about to go through is what the way I feel. Is it true? Is it real? And that really looks at the section in between, because when we look at these cards, right, when we look at our water cards here that are going right across in the middle here, there's a lot here about illusion. Here again, illusion about what I want to choose from. Not all of it is that good. Some of it looks like it's fantastic, but it might not be healthy for me. Here I'm looking at a mirror and I'm seeing myself all aged. It's almost as if the moon is playing tricks on me. And here, you know, we have this falling in love. So perhaps there's some romantic energy here happening, which I've got to be very careful of, or at least illusionary state, which I've got to be careful of in the middle. So that gives you an idea of how to read the cards in also a downward manner, where you start to look at here meeting of minds, something transforming, but here I've got a defensiveness, and the idea is to allow the waters to heal me, to wash things away. Here I see myself trapped as a victim, but really I've got choices, and you know, I've got to be careful because I might have some energy telling me that, you know, you can't, nothing's going to change, you're always going to be chained like this. And here, because we have the element of fire, perhaps that's also an indicator that I will need some kind of fiery energy to cleanse that away. And then finally here with things ending at Yule, I've got here creativity, but be careful about any illusions that I might have. So base things well on firm foundations. That's where the earth sign is coming through. So I hope that makes sense to you about how you can also just do a flow. And the reason why I want to put these things out in a grid is because I personally think that grids are phenomenal ways of seeing things in a new light. I really like to look at things that are hidden. Sometimes because our eye, by the way, naturally the human eye goes from left to right and across this way. Of course, in certain countries and certain languages, we read in a different direction. So I respect it could be going in a different direction. But the point is that whichever language you are living and working in at least the Western languages, we are going from left to right and then this way. And so this gives you a synopsis of a flow. Usually this area very much to the eyes are hidden. So here's death and transformation, that I must learn to let go of things. And here this area always feels a little bit like it's very exposed, which is here in this case is the creativity element. And that's where it's all kind of like looking very shiny and bright. But that gives you an idea of how you can take notes on this, take a photo of this when you've done yours, and spend some time journaling. Go back to any cards that might leap out at you. Perhaps here in this case for me, you know, what could be leaping out to me is the Seven of Cups. I always love the Seven of Cups because it always reminds me not all that glitters is gold. You know, be careful of how I might be making up a story in my mind about, oh, it's fabulous, it's interesting, it's amazing, everything is wonderful, and here I've got poison, and you know, I've got things here that might not be just great for my health. You know, here I've got cake, it tastes great, but it's not always healthy. So again, you know, I might want to go away and sit with the Seven of Cups a little bit, even pull out Seven of Cups from other decks. And so this gives you an idea of kind of like a flow, but it also gives you markers. And what you can also do with this finally, if I might say, is that, you know, when you get to, let's say, the end of October and it's Samhain and we're about to go into Halloween, is to pull out the water card that you had before, because it will be infused with the energy of this spread. You know, you can cleanse it or you can keep them to the side, but pull out that water card and again do another spread, you know, or do another jumping off point from there and write a little bit about it, you know. So that gives you hopefully an idea that this is kind of like a lay of the land, but then from here you can go on to do much more, I believe. Now, a lot of people at this point might say, I'd love to have an oracle card just to sum everything up. That's up to you. That really is up to you. If you wanted to, you could always do an oracle card pull. I just realized myself, perhaps I need to grab hold of an oracle card to see what would come up, you know, if I wanted to. I personally don't usually do an oracle card pull because for me this is quite busy already and there's a lot going on. But if I wanted to, I could. Or perhaps you're working with clients who appreciate having an oracle card as part of a jumping off point. So let me pull one just to see what we get in terms of guidance. I'm just pulling one randomly here. And I've got strength coming up. Here we go. So if you have a strength, if you have a reading like that coming up, which is strength here, this is a really good way to see kind of like, you know, what is the energy that you need to get you through this period. And obviously the oracle is telling me that it wants me to stay balanced, to remember that this is going to be worth it, that I can have the agility to balance priorities and to, you know, there's some fall leaves here. You can see here she's changing from the green towards the wintry fall and the winter energy, the autumn and the winter energy. So it's a beautiful card in one way because it's also showing me the change of season, that as the seasons change, she maintains her composure and stays poised. So perhaps what this is telling me is that as I go through all of the things that here I've laid out, is to stay poised and to stay balanced and to not lose hold of my footing. Quickly opening the guidebook as I say this, just to give us an idea of what the guidebook says. And this is from the Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reid. And it says, your true strength comes not from self-reliance alone, but from sincere faith in a higher power. So to accomplish even the most daunting task is yours at this time. You can connect with and channel the power of the universe's strength indicates that your ideas are being tested and refined and your relationships are being deepened. No matter what happens, nothing can move you off course of evolution. As the potency of your connections becomes more obvious, you're able to harness the creative energies that are available to you. Wow. Have courage and dive in, for magic is in the process of finding a form to take. That leads to the star for me. When you remember that real strength comes from a combination of your efforts and reliance on a higher power working through you, all is possible. You can do anything now. Wow. And that actually brings me back a little bit to the Nine of Wands as well. That, you know, you actually have I have the resilience and the strength to go through. So I hope that makes sense what I have just shown, and that has been hopefully clear. If you work with this and try it out, let me know. I'd love to. I'm going to call it the autumn equinox spread or the Mabon spread. I don't know yet. I'll put a hashtag below. Feel free to tag me and hashtag it so I know if you've used it. I always find these things interesting, and you know, if this is something that's helpful, I'd love to do this again, especially of course at Yule and in between. I love coming up with spreads. You know, on Insta that I'm posting spreads when it comes to the moons and the Wiccan festivals. So I'm someone that really enjoys it, and right now we're in a season where lots of creators are posting spreads. They're amazing. So, you know, this is a season where we can really enjoy a lot of the work that's out there. So with that, thank you for joining me today. I hope you are having a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all soon. Take care now.